September 21st, 1991, the day that changed the boxing world forever. On a fine night in White Hart Lane, London, history was being made. A WBO Super Middleweight Championship bout, a rematch between the undefeated Chris Eubank and Michael Watson.
Oh, he's got him down now. That's the first clean knockdown.
In front of the sold-out crowd, Eubank and Watson put on a spectacle that ended in honor, a fight that everyone on that arena would not forget, and a fight that was hailed as the scariest day in boxing. A battle that would change the landscape of boxing. For Michael Watson, this was a war of redemption, a chance to redeem himself and put his name once again among the greats. For Eubank, it was to protect his legacy and become the undisputed middleweight champion of his era. He defeated Watson once, and there's nothing stopping him from thinking he could defeat him again and end this rivalry once and for all. Leading up to the fight, there was a lot of animosity going on. Eubank, with his strong and eccentric personality, was the reigning WBO middleweight champion. He was the best middleweight in the world. Watson, on the other hand, was the challenger with a burning desire to dethrone the champ. Their personalities couldn't have been more different. Eubank was brash and outspoken, often seen wearing his signature monocle and talking about his genius in the ring. Watson, on the other hand, was quiet, humble, and determined to prove himself as the better fighter. With Eubank winning their first bout via majority decision, the confidence was through the roof. And as the champ, he was the favorite to win it all. For Watson, the rematch was a chance to redeem himself from the crushing defeat he suffered at Eubank and become the champ.
Has in fact come for Eubank.
From the opening bell, everyone noticed that this would be a different fight from the first. That was all thanks to Watson's trainer, Jimmy Tibbs, who was the best trainer because of his familiarity with Eubank's style. Jimmy Tibbs was in the corner of Eubank's boxing arch nemesis, Nigel Benn, with whom Eubank had a classic encounter a year before. Right off the bat, Watson was swinging. He set up a pace that caught Eubank off guard. Watson was throwing punches with blinding speed, wasting not a single second with his ruthless aggression. The game plan was clear and simple. With Watson's trainer, Tibbs, studying Eubank's style, Tibbs knew right off the bat that Eubank was not comfortable trading at a rapid-fire pace. Eubank wanted to fight in spurts, not in constant brawls. Tibbs knew that if Watson put pressure on Eubank's corner, Eubank would succumb and weaken his style. Tibbs could never be more right. Watson was dominating Eubank. Watson's boxing skills were on full display as he outboxed Eubank, frustrating the champion with his speed and agility. With Eubank hoping Watson would slow down, the challenger never backed down. Watson was trained for months to do this very exact thing. Tibbs prepared Watson's body and mind to dish out 3 minutes of hell every single round, launching relentless attacks like a machine. It was pure chaos, but Eubank, known for his tenacity and unyielding spirit, refused to back down. He pushed forward relentlessly like a champ. He was determined to turn the tide in his favor. As the rounds went on, the fight became an all-out war, with both men landing heavy blows and absorbing punishment. But the intense and unending brawl took an unexpected turn in the 11th round, where the excitement of the fight turned into horror. Coming into the 11th round, it was clear that Watson was leading in the judges' scorecards, and Eubank clearly needed a knockdown to turn the tides in his favor. But Eubank was visibly shaken, using all of his energy to stand on his 2 feet, and instead of breaking on the 11th round, it was Watson who capitalized. Watson showcased a flurry of punches and a beautiful combination to send Eubank down to the canvas for the first time in his career. The crowd went nuts. This was the first time the champion had been down, and he might be 10 seconds away from suffering his first ever pro boxing loss.
I got up. I told my daughter, that's how I'd like you to remember me. I got up. Not that I got up and I actually won the fight, that I got up. Truth, integrity. You're gonna have to, if I can continue, then I will.
But with everyone expecting Eubank to stay down, the miracle happened. Eubank proceeded to get up from the canvas, beating the 10 count, visibly shaken. With Watson on the verge of winning the championship bout, Eubank launched a comeback of his own and used up all of his energy on his last Hail Mary as he launched himself forward and packed a powerful right uppercut that sent Watson halfway across the ring. And this is where the horror began. The crowd gasped in disbelief as thousands of boxing fans watched Watson's head bounce against the bottom of the ropes. As Watson got up, the bell rang, ending a slugfest. The fight should have been stopped right there. Watson was visibly not himself after that knockdown. He was blinking his eyes very fast while sitting on a stool. With that kind of landing on your head, Watson should be checked by a medical specialist and should be on his way to an ambulance, but there was none present. Watson, still thinking how near he was to snatching the prestigious belt, subconsciously continued and went up for the 12th round. As the bell sounded, Eubank wasted no time and capitalized on Watson's state. He launched a barrage of punches that put Watson's back on the ropes. After seconds of brutal punches, referee Roy Francis decided he had seen enough and mercifully stopped the fight. Watson was disgruntled, and as soon as he was walking towards his corner, Watson collapsed. Just over an hour ago, Watson was in prime state, the best of the best, but after the fight, his life would never be the same. The crowd watched with horror in their eyes. They knew that Watson was dealing with something serious, and the bout caused massive ripple effects on the entire boxing world. Michael Watson had suffered a life-threatening brain injury. He was rushed to the hospital as the boxing world held its breath as Watson fought for his life. His family, friends, and fans prayed for his recovery. The championship loss left Watson with a clot in his brain, which required 6 operations to remove and made him spend 40 days in a coma, followed by an entire year in a vegetative state. His doctors predicted that Watson could never talk, walk, or write again. Miraculously, Watson survived, but he would never box again. His once promising career was tragically cut short, and he faced a long and arduous road to rehabilitation. The fight had taken an unimaginable toll on both fighters, but it was Watson's life that was forever altered. In the aftermath of the fight, there were calls for greater safety measures in boxing, including stricter medical examinations and increased awareness of the potential dangers. Watson's injuries prompted changes in the sport, leading to a more rigorous approach to fighter safety. Watson sued the British Boxing Board of Control for negligence and won damages reportedly worth around £1 million. The High Court ruled that the BBOC was responsible for medical provision at a fight and that administering oxygen and resuscitation on site would have made a considerable difference to Watson's outcome. During an interview with Piers Morgan, Eubank reflected on it as the only regret of his entire career. Despite the doctor's call that Watson could never walk again, Watson fought for his health and regained the life that he lost as he was able to walk again. Watson then told Eubank almost decades after the tragedy to move on and that both of them are both warriors, that it was an accident that could happen to anyone. The incident woke the entire boxing world, that despite of the sport being treated as an art, it was a very dangerous sport. Fighters are sacrificing their lives just being inside the ring. The utmost priority should be the health and safety of the warriors inside that squared circle. One split second can change a life forever.